Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to yet another God of War video. Whilst we have been talking a fair bit about the Norse series of games, and everything associated with Faye, please don't forget to check out that video by the way. Today we're going to be going back in time to the realm of the Olympian gods. With us having already covered Zeus, it felt only right and natural that we talk about another member of Olympus's big three, the king of the Underworld, and first child of the Titan Cronos, Hades. But before we do start, it would really mean a lot to me if we could get this video to about 500 likes. It helps out this video a lot and helps give it that extra push right out of the gate. Along with this, if you like what we do here and wish to see more, please don't forget to hit that bell and subscribe, as it will keep you up to date with all of my content. So without any further ado, let's get on with today's video. Now, to truly understand Hades and his ties to Kratos, we must first go very far back in time, before the events of the first game and the creation of Olympus. Before the Olympians, there was the Titans, ancient gigantic beings and descendants of even older beings, the Primordials. Having defeated their predecessors at the dawn of time, the Titans reigned supreme for eons, ushering a new age and dawn for their world. But what of the gods? Where exactly do they fit into this? Well, during the reign of the Titans, their leader, Cronos, fell in love with another. This Titan was called Rhea, and as expected, the two would conceive children, with their first actually being Hades. All seemed well for the Titans, but in time, Cronos learned of a prophecy foretelling his own downfall at the hands of one of his children. To prevent such a fate from ever coming to fruition, he would consume the likes of Hades, as well as his siblings, to avert fate. And for the most part, he was actually successful, but one child had slipped through his grasp: Zeus. In an act of both love and defiance, Rhea would have their youngest child, Zeus, be taken away to a faraway land, escaping the clutches of the Titans and his father. Now, Zeus would be raised on Gaia, the last living primordial, and Zeus, having learnt the fate of both his family and the fall of his siblings, would learn to hone his skills for many years. And eventually, in due time, Zeus would free his siblings from the belly of Cronos. And what happens next is known as the Great War, as the battle between gods and titans would begin. The war of fathers against sons shed blood on both sides, with Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon leading the charge. On the battlefield, Hades was a very formidable adversary against the Titans. With his weapon, the Claw of Hades, he was able to bring the fight to the Titans, and even bring his father Cronos to his knees. Unfortunately, during this battle, he wasn't able to claim his soul, courtesy of interference from Atlas. But with the assistance of Poseidon, the dead king would turn his sights towards him, and not only defeat Atlas, but tear his soul from his body, absorbing the Titan's life force on top of his already incredible power. The battle was fierce, but it was locked in a standstill. That is, until Zeus arrived on the battlefield. Before the war had commenced, the Sky Father had forged a weapon of incredible power, one that would shake the Titans to their core, the Blade of Olympus. Once this blade was cast upon the battlefield, the fight was over in mere moments. The Titans were defeated, and the gods of Olympus would reign supreme. With this somewhat passing of the torch, the gods would take domain of the land beneath them, becoming the new rulers of Greece, and creating Olympus on the highest mountain they could find. As the world began to flourish with life, and man started to walk, the gods, as a reward for their battle, would be given a different domain of the mortal plane, something that represented their strength and power. For Zeus, it would be Mount Olympus. For Poseidon, it would be the sea. And for Hades, it would be the Underworld, the realm of the dead. Now, during this time, Hades would marry another god, Persephone, the goddess of spring. Whilst on the surface they seemed to be happily married, this was in fact something that Persephone was displeased with. This was a marriage forced upon her, and we would very quickly see this relationship turn bitter in Chains of Olympus. But before we touch on that, let's get on to Hades' next canonical appearance, and this is during the God of War 2011 tie-in comic book series. The events of this comic take place a decade later, after Zeus learns of the Mark Child prophecy and the kidnapping of Deimos. After years of reigning over the humans, the gods would use the mortal plane as a form of entertainment. You see, they would all band together to create a battle royale of sorts, pitting mortals of different regions against each other for the ambrosia of Asclepius. But in order to get this tournament started, the gods would spread famine and pestilence throughout the land, and the only way to cure these poisons was through the ambrosia, so it would motivate each champion to hunt down and acquire this. So as time went on, the champions would battle each other, and the gods would place bets on their respective champions to win. For Hades, his champion would be the Prince of the Barbarians, Ulrich, a warrior that would go on to the end of the hunt, battling the likes of Ares' champion, Kratos. Now, to have the favor in his odds, Hades would summon forth the clutches of death in order to vanquish Kratos' army, but not even that was strong enough to stop the Spartan, as he would go on to defeat the likes of Ulrich and claim the ambrosia, much to the humiliation of the king of the Underworld. After this point, Hades plays a very minor role in the series, being absent during the events of God of War Ascension and even Chains of Olympus. But that's not to say that the events of that game aren't tied to him in some way, shape and form. Hades' wife, Persephone, had finally gone mad from her marriage to Hades. The dismissive and smug nature of the Olympian gods had finally caused her to crack. She even went so far to side with the Titan Atlas for Olympus's downfall, looking to topple the great citadel as penance for their arrogance. And while she was able to send the gods into a deep slumber, she would not be successful in her quest, as she would be stopped by a former champion of Ares, Kratos. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the death of Persephone did nothing but sow the seeds of Hades' vengeance towards Kratos, as the affairs of what Persephone had planned are left unbeknownst to the realm of gods. So Hades is only left with the knowledge of what Kratos was responsible for, the death of his wife. Now, Hades' next chronological appearance is in the first God of War. Here, he plays a very minor role, as after Zeus' child Ares has gone mad, the goddess Athena appoints Kratos the job of slaying his former master. And during this hunt, the gods do assist him in his pursuit by giving him tools to kill the God of War, as well the gods of Olympus really did not like Ares. And Hades is in fact one of those gods that does assist Kratos, giving him the ability, the army of Hades. But this must have been seen as a somewhat means to an end, as Hades would still bear his grudge against the ghost, as we will very quickly see. The venom that Hades holds against Kratos grows exponentially by the end of the first God of War, as during Kratos' battle against Ares, once the Spartan opens up Pandora's box and is bestowed with its incredible power, a great evil spills out into the world. Unknown to the Spartan, Pandora's box was forged by Hephaestus at the request of Zeus to contain the evils of the world born from their battle against the Titans. The evil was seen as a poison and was contained within the box to cut it off from all that may touch it. But once the box was open, the sins of the Titan would infect the gods and transform them into monstrous deities. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's very important moving forward in its sequel, God of War 2. Whilst Hades makes a very brief cameo at the end of the game, the madness of the Titans begins to taint taint their rule, causing Zeus to once again grow paranoid with the marked child prophecy. Thus, he turns on his child Kratos and does kill him. But of course, this isn't the end of the Spartan, having fought his way back through time. This eventually leads to an all-out war between the two that results in the death of Athena. While she pleads for them to stop, the battle continues to escalate, with Kratos calling forth the Titans of old, and Zeus assembling his family atop Mount Olympus. Together, they engage their predecessors once more, with Hades swinging down from Olympus to defeat the likes of Oceanus, tearing him off from the base of the mountain. Eventually, the ghost of Sparta and Hades do cross paths, with the Spartan falling into his domain as he is betrayed by Gaia. Here, the god of the dead is finally able to express his dismay with the Spartan, telling him how whilst he is deaf, Kratos is a blind animal that will seek out any reason possible to justify his awful actions. But the time for words has quickly passed, and Hades finally strikes Kratos, seeking to tear his bastard soul from his body. But the blight upon Olympus will not be stopped so easily, as Kratos is able to fight off his uncle's assault. Eventually, Hades grows desperate as their battle draws out his power, and he even attempts to drown Kratos in the river Styx. At first, this seems like a good idea, but he himself is dragged into the river, seemingly leading to his demise. But the god of the dead will not go down quite so easily. In a last-ditch effort, Hades emerges from the river in a colossal form to hopefully drown his nephew. But eventually, much like his brother, Hades is overpowered and finally killed by Kratos with his own blades, having his soul torn out. The damned from the river drowned the god of the dead in agony, and the king of the underworld is dead. So this actually marks the end for Hades in the God of War series. But it must be said, Hades definitely made quite the impression, with arguably the most intimidating design in the series to date. Hades' inclusion in God of War 3 did not disappoint, but if there was one thing I wish we did see, is more of him in the series as a whole. I think he would have made a solid antagonist, but I'm still very much so pleased with what he did bring to the table, as it showed just how different and unique he is compared to his other two brothers. Now, just before we do wrap up here, I just wanted to quickly apologize for the irregular upload schedule recently. By the time this video actually goes up, I will be in Orlando, Florida, commentating the final big tournament for Mortal Kombat 11. So guys, I'm really sorry there will only be one upload this week, but please don't worry, as once I'm back I have a ton of new content on the way. And whilst I typically don't reveal my upload schedule, it seems only fair, but I let you know what videos I do have planned next. So the first will be us talking about where will Kratos possibly go next after the Norse series, the history of Mimir, and the history of Athena. So there's plenty of content locked in for old and new fans alike, as we bring on this new era of God of War. But as always from me, stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting as Ragnarok comes for us all. Take care everyone, stay safe.